August 1944, France. German commanders stared at their maps in disbelief as Patton's Third Army ripped through their lines like a wildfire. Towns vanished overnight, entire divisions vanished into encirclements, and the once mighty Wehrmacht teetered on the brink of total collapse. In pure desperation, they unleashed their ultimate weapon, 72 Tiger tanks, the most terrifying heavy armor of the war, each a rolling fortress with armor that laughed at most Allied guns and an 88mm cannon that could punch through Shermans from impossible distances. On paper, these beasts should have slammed the door shut on Patton's rampage. Instead, they became a graveyard of steel. By the end, fewer than 10 Tigers remained. The rest? Destroyed, abandoned, or captured. And Patton? He never even slowed down. This is the incredible tale of how raw American guts, razor-sharp tactics, and sheer unrelenting speed turned Germany's elite superweapon into scrap metal, and shattered the myth of the invincible Tiger forever. The Tiger was a nightmare made real. Weighing in at 56 tons of thick, sloped steel, its frontal armor shrugged off hits from almost every Allied anti-tank gun at range. That legendary 88mm KWK-36 gun could obliterate any Sherman from over a mile away, while the American tank's 75mm often bounced harmlessly off the Tiger's hide. Allied crews whispered about them in terror. One Tiger could pin down an entire column, forcing 4 or 5 Shermans to gang up just to take one down. And even then, the Tiger usually claimed 3 or 4 victims first. German propaganda turned them into legends. Allied soldiers called them invincible. But no tank is perfect, and the Tiger had fatal flaws that Patton spotted from miles away. It was painfully slow, topping out at maybe 25 miles per hour on roads, crawling off-road. It guzzled fuel like a thirsty giant, getting less than a mile per gallon when Germany was starving for oil. Its complex engine and transmission broke down constantly. For every Tiger lost in battle, another was left behind because it simply quit. And worst of all? Tigers ruled in static, defensive fights, hull-down, long-range ambushes where their gun and armor shone. Force them to move, chase, or react quickly, and those advantages evaporated. By late August, the Germans were out of options. Patton's blitz was too fast for ordinary defenses. They threw everything they had into the fight, nearly a full battalion of Tigers, 72 of the best heavy tanks available, positioned to block his path in textbook defensive spots, hull down behind ridges, guns covering open kill zones. American armor would have to cross exposed ground and get shredded at range. It should have bought precious time to rebuild the line. It didn't. Patton had studied the Tiger obsessively. He knew its strengths and, more importantly, its limits. He refused to play the Germans' game. His anti-Tiger playbook boiled down to 5 brutal principles that turned the battle into a massacre. First, never fight on their terms. No long-range slugfests where the Tiger dominated. Use smoke, terrain, and lightning maneuvers to close in fast or hit from weak side and rear angles. Second, combined arms everything. Tigers could shrug off tanks, but they hated artillery barrages, strafing fighter bombers, and infantry with bazookas. Hit them from every direction at once, overwhelm the crews with chaos. Third, starve them. Tigers were fuel and ammo hogs that needed constant resupply. Bomb their convoys, raid their dumps, force them to move, and watch them break down on their own. Fourth, never stop. Tigers thrived when the enemy dug in. Keep advancing relentlessly, keep them reacting, keep them repositioning, their mechanical gremlins would do the rest. Fifth, accept the cost. Fighting Tigers meant losses, but stalling to avoid them gave the Germans time to dig in deeper. Better to bleed a little and keep rolling than freeze and let them regroup. Patton hammered these rules into every commander. Tankers didn't retreat from Tigers, they called in hell. Artillery responded in minutes. P-47 Thunderbolts got top priority for rocket runs. His army didn't just fight Tigers, they hunted them. When the clash came, Patton's scouts spotted the Tigers early. He instantly shifted his columns, spreading them wide, keeping constant motion. American forces hit the positions not with head-on charges, but with overwhelming fury, massive artillery storms to button up crews and blind them, fast tank destroyers slipping into flanks for side shots, thunderbolts diving with rockets and bombs to shred tracks and engines. Tigers, built for patient long-range duels, found themselves swarmed from artillery, aircraft, and maneuvering armor all at once. One threw a track repositioning under fire and was abandoned. Another ran dry after Patton's pilots torched its fuel convoy. 3 more fell to flanking tank destroyers ripping through side armor. Rockets finished tracks and ignited engines. In hours, not days, over 20 Tigers were gone. The survivors were stunned, isolated, begging for support that never came because Patton's speed had shredded German command. The next days were even worse. Dawn artillery hammered known positions. Night moves put tank destroyers in ambushes. More Tigers broke down from constant stress. By the 3rd day, the Germans ordered retreat, but retreating Tigers were just as vulnerable. Slow, fuel-starved, mechanically fragile. Pursuing Americans hammered them from behind, where armor was thin. More were abandoned or blown up by their own crews. When the dust settled, of those 72 elite Tigers rushed to stop the unstoppable, fewer than 10 remained operational. The superweapon that was supposed to halt Patton had been broken, not by better tanks, but by better tactics, unbreakable tempo, and a commander who refused to let the enemy breathe. Patton's lesson echoes through history. Superior tech means nothing if your enemy changes the rules of the fight. Speed, coordination, and relentless pressure can turn the world's best weapon into yesterday's scrap. What do you think sealed the Tigers' fate, American brilliance or German desperation? Drop your thoughts below, and if you crave more stories of tactics-crushing technology, smash that subscribe button now. The destruction of those 72 Tigers wasn't merely a tactical victory, it was a psychological earthquake that rippled straight to the heart of German high command. They had pinned their last hopes on their elite heavy tanks to slam the brakes on Patton's rampaging Third Army. Instead, they watched in stunned horror as their vaunted superweapon was reduced to smoking wrecks and abandoned hulks in barely 3 days. The legend of the Invincible Tiger died screaming in the Normandy hedgerows. What truly doomed them? It was never about the hardware alone. The Sherman was still outclassed in a fair, head-on duel, thinner armor, weaker gun, lighter weight. The real killer was something far more lethal: mindset and momentum. Patton refused to fight the battle the Germans had prepared for. He refused to give them the static, predictable engagement their Tigers were engineered to dominate. The Tiger was a masterpiece for defensive warfare, perfect for sitting hull down on a ridge, picking off attackers from a mile away while shrugging off return fire. But Patton never let them sit. He never let them prepare. He turned every clash into a whirlwind of chaos where the Tiger's strengths evaporated and its fatal flaws were ruthlessly exploited. Too slow to chase or reposition quickly, Patton's columns moved faster than the Tigers could react. Too fuel-hungry in a Germany running on fumes? He starved them by bombing convoys and raiding dumps until tanks ran dry mid-battle. Too prone to breakdowns under stress? He forced constant movement, constant repositioning, until transmissions failed, tracks snapped, and engines quit. Vulnerable when flanked or swarmed. He drowned them in combined arms, artillery to blind and suppress, P-47s to shred tracks and ignite engines, tank destroyers to slip in for deadly side shots, infantry with bazookas to finish the job. The Germans wanted a set-piece battle. Patton gave them a relentless, multi-directional hunt. Interrogated Tiger crews told the same chilling story again and again. We never fought the same enemy twice. Artillery would hammer them, forcing hatches closed and vision slits useless. Then thunderbolts would scream in low, rockets tearing tracks apart. Then tank destroyers would appear on the flanks, punching through thinner side armor. By the time they swung their turret to face one threat, 2 more had materialized from nowhere. They couldn't focus. They couldn't concentrate fire. They were the prey. One captured commander summed it up with bitter resignation. We expected a battle. What we got was a chase. Your forces never stopped long enough for us to establish a single defensive position. That was Patton's genius in pure form. He didn't just beat the Tigers, he made sure the very battle the Germans needed never materialized. The strategic consequences were devastating. From that moment on, Whenever German intelligence spotted Patton's Third Army on the map, panic set in. Commanders no longer trusted static defenses or elite armor to hold the line. They knew they either needed impossible numbers of tanks they didn't have, or they had to retreat before he arrived. The aura of invincibility that once surrounded the Tiger was shattered forever. For American tankers, the victory was liberating. Crews who had once dreaded the words, "Tiger sighting," now knew the truth. Tigers could be beaten. Not without cost. Not without blood. But consistently, when you fought smart, fought as one combined force, and never, ever let the enemy catch their breath. 72 of the Wehrmacht's most feared tanks thrown into the path of Patton's advance. Fewer than 10 survived. Not because the Tiger was a flawed design, it was arguably the finest heavy tank of the entire war. It failed because it was the wrong weapon for the war Patton forced upon it, a war of blinding speed, perfect coordination, and merciless pressure. The lesson cuts through every era of warfare. The most advanced technology in the world is useless if your enemy refuses to fight on your terms. When you face superior power, don't try to match its strength for strength. Change the rules. Use tempo, deception, coordination, and unrelenting aggression to turn their greatest strengths into their deadliest liabilities. Patton didn't destroy the Tigers with better tanks. He destroyed them with better ideas. The road to the German border lay wide open. And George S. Patton never looked back. So tell me, what do you think was the single decisive factor that sealed the Tiger's fate? Patton's ruthless speed? The devastating power of true combined arms? Or the Germans' crumbling logistics? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love these raw, unfiltered stories of how brilliant tactics crushed even the most terrifying weapons, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's keep rolling through World War II history together. See you in the next one.